What's going on, you guys? Justin here with another episode of DIY. Super stoked about this one. We've got the LSK windshield and the LSK radius cage here. Let's get to it. I want to show you guys just how rad it is to have this level of protection on your UTV. What's going on, you guys? We're here with another episode on our Can-Am X3 project. We got a special shout out to give for LSK suspension. They went ahead and hooked us up with their 4-seat Can-Am X3 Max radius cage. I have the roof here and the tubing, and we're gonna go ahead and get this cage assembled. We do have a jig here to get it in place so we don't have to actually mount it onto the car. We're gonna go ahead and assemble it and get it pre-welded and get it ready to go. So obviously this is something for our DIY series that can be challenging for somebody to do at home if they don't have the tools to go ahead and do so. We just wanna go ahead and swap this stock cage out and go ahead with an aftermarket cage. There are pieces to this tube kit. This is a weld-it-yourself kit. There are companies out there that do offer kits that are already pre-done. All you do is take the cage off with the plastics, and then it's all bolt in on the bases here. So we are going a little bit of a different route by doing a weld cage from LSK, but we do want to cover how that step in the process is done. So here we go. All right, so we have our roof here. Cool thing about this is we're going to get to powder coated a color that we decide to go with. And only 2 pieces. I'm assuming this is a good spot to open it at. Jump. Parts. So luckily there's a very kind individual that works here that's going to help me weld this, because I certainly don't know how to weld. If you'd like to see me weld quarters, stay tuned for another episode where I don't know how to weld. For this build, I'm not going to go ahead and do that because I actually want to be safe. So we've got Joe here. Who's going to give me a hand on welding this for me and give us a little breakdown when we get to the welding segment. But here are all the pieces that we're going to jump and get on that jig behind us here. If you're looking at how that Can-Am is set up, you've got the points here, being here, the middle of the car, and then you have the rear of the car. So basically, instead of us like taking that cage off, building it on top of it, we get the luxury, because we have access to this, to do it here and then place it on the car all at once. So we're going to get the tubes together, line them all up, then get the welded piece done, add all the tabs for all the other aftermarket accessories that we're going to add. Stay tuned. And then it's going to head off to powder coat and get powder coated and then get mounted to the actual car. This is a weld-on, weld-together cage from LSK. So it is intensive to do kind of a DIY at home. It does actually have these little keyways here. As I little twist them, you can see them. And so this will tell you exactly, they're already like, these ends are pre-cut and have keyways, so you'll know exactly if it's a good fit or not. So for example, I've got 2 little slots right here. And so you'll know that it's a good fit. So it does speed up the process very quickly in terms of assembling this cage and knowing exactly where your weld points are. So you just passed me this. Yep. These are the brackets, 8 pillar plates. One side looks different than the other. Does it matter?
Yes, it does. So on your car, you're going to have specific points that they'll bolt onto. So as you're doing the DIY kit, and you actually pull the factory cage off your car, because most people are going to do this at home and have to pull out their factory cage anyways.
Yep. So
you're going to be able to see exactly where they go. On this fixture, you'll notice that the longest bolt will actually go toward the rear. And if you set it up, everything will line up.
Gotcha. So for this kit at least, there's 2 clearly different color variations, and it looks like I got to use this side.
That's mostly just from when they're lasering and things like that. It does have a little bit of discoloration, and as you can see while you're putting it on there, it can only go on one way. There's your B pillar plates.
Aha. So now I'm curious if there's a trend here. So I'm going to jump to this side.
This is the one that might get you.
Ah. No, that's true. It rings true. Okay. That looks better. Now, why do we need to turn it? Oh, because this little opening right here?
So, and that's what we were talking about earlier with the LSK Cage, is all of them are keyed. So, that little square that you see right there in front of you, that's key, part of that C pillar. That way it can take the guessing game out of it, and you know exactly where to put that C pillar at every time you try to build one of these.
Good to know.
So,
aha.
That's how everything will sit.
Okay.
And you can see that LSK gave you those keyways to make sure that it does not move. And when you connect it to your cage, it becomes that much easier.
So if you move your finger, is it going to fall?
Well, yes, I don't have it tacked yet.
Oh, thank you. I was just curious if the keyway would sustain the weight.
No,
just
but
right.
once we start assembling the cage, you'll see everything will snap together.
Okay.
So go ahead and put nuts and bolts in every single one of these holes that you see. And what you're going to try and do is, since we have the fixture here, you're going to try and align these plates as best you can.
Okay.
And then that's when we're going to tighten everything down. So we want to make sure that all this is straight, because it's going to make it look that much better on your car. Granted, most of this is covered by plastic, but you know it's there and you want it to be perfect.
Yeah, the welding part, the tacking part. That's not me. Got you. Are you watching me so you can find out that I'm going to be severely mistaken and something is not going to work?
I'm just here to make sure you're safe, just like you were saying earlier.
You never know.
I'm the one who's got to weld this cage, so I got to make sure it's perfect.
Lee, tighten them. All right, so we went ahead and got the frame laid out on the ground just so we can see all the pieces and know exactly where they're going to go. We do have our jig over here so we can actually mount and get the pieces of the cage welded together without actually having to do it on the car. And then the plates are already over there ready to go. Just wanted to outline so you can kind of see the rough skeleton before we go ahead and get this party shaken. We've got Joe, our RD manager, lending a hand on this project. Going to go ahead and get this thing welded up, and then we'll send this thing off to Pataco when he's done. So stay tuned. All right, so Joe is here, our welding and aficionado R&D manager here at PRP, lending me a hand. He went ahead and grabbed all of the pieces that we laid out on the ground and went ahead and put it up here and has it actually kept together by these tie downs, just so we can get an idea for it, and all of the keyway and all the pieces are together. Joe, anything worth mentioning going on here?
The great thing about this LSK cage is everything is tabbed, and they have all these nice little keyways. This whole thing, there's not a single tack on it at this time. And as you can see, we have some things that we need to measure out, make sure everything's straight. But right now, it's quite literally being held together by 3 straps. That's it. That's the great thing about these cages. They all snap together, make it real easy for you. Very easy to weld.
And this kind of falls in line with the whole DIY series. Is even though yes, there is some welding involved, LSK specifically with the features that they've included in their actual cage makes it doable. So now what? What is the next step?
Well, actually, we still have a couple more tubes. We got to measure everything out, make sure that it's straight, square, and held down properly. Once we can get everything lined up, everything locked into place, everything tacked, we can go ahead and weld it all up. Once we weld it all up, we'll be able to ready to go on your car.
How to go first?
How to go first.
I know we talked about it this morning, is making sure we have tabs for the Baja Designs lights. You know, and we do have a windshield from LSK that we do need to mock up and notch. I know we mentioned just kind of making sure do things twice when you send it to Pataco, and then realize you have to weld tabs onto it afterwards. So this is the tricky part. Is luckily we know exactly what parts are going to go onto this car, so we can do the welding prior to it going to Pataco.
Well, the great thing about these is LSK actually makes this really simple. So you have part numbers that are labeled on everything. Part numbers always go out. If they look mirrored, then they go on the passenger side. If they're written correctly, they go onto the driver's side. I mean, they try to keep it as simple as possible for you, so that way almost anybody can do it. Justin, you want to give it a shot?
Oh, you want me to weld quarters on that?
Yeah.
Welded, we have the roof here, and then how are we going to mount the actual lights. So Joe went on the plasma cutter over here, and we're going to go ahead and cut some custom mounting, get them welded onto the cage so that way a powder coat, it's all perfect. And then we're going to look at this cool rear tail light here. So this is going to get mounted to the back of the car as well. From Baja Designs, just need to kind of make sure we have all the T's crossed, you know, and like make sure we're doing everything correct. So here,
You touch one thing, Justin.
I touched one thing. You see that? So meanwhile, while Joe is doing that portion, go ahead and start taking off the doors today, possibly taking the roof off, but some cool stuff is kind of coming. If you have the windshield in your hands, we're going to mount, or in the car we'll have a windshield, and with that we need to consider, you know, making sure we've notched this correctly. So the guys at LSK gave us something that's basically just as a template, and we're going to go ahead and get this notched, make sure it's good for the light bar, and then make sure that all of our pod lights and our DRT mirrors are going to actually work. And then once we notch this, we're going to give it back to LSK, and then they're going to give us back a windshield that already has those notches in it, which is super nice of them. Here's the fancy DRT mirrors that we're going to go and put on the car. Once again, just trying to consider everything with the cage and how it's mounted, how it's going to look, notching the windshield, making sure that it's correct. 2 on each side, and we're going to pick this up and walk forward.
Yeah. There we go.
I'm up.
That. All right.
I'm out.
Yeah, I'll just watch your plastics. There we go. Yeah, not all of us are tall as you, Justin.
Yeah, I see that.
There you go. Down.
I thought you guys were. Thank you.
That's it?
That's it, muscles.
Don't ever say never got you anything. I made you a convertible.
We'll be the first one with a Can-Am convertible going up Oldsmobile Hill. This is living. This is living.
Where's my fan? I just like your hair's blowing.
Can we just make one that looks like a Fred Flintstone cover over it out of the back? Yabba-dabba-doo.
I think we could do that.
All right, guys, so we've already put on the LSK cage, the LSK roof, right, and the LSK windshield, but this LSK cage, super great. It's the radius cage. I'm a taller guy, so I fit a lot better with this kind of arch cage versus a flat straight across. That's why I went with it. Being here at PRP, we do have access to welding, so we welded all the tabs custom to the cage, got it powder coated gold, got the rear tail light from Baja Designs mounted to the back, heading up to the front. We got the Baja Designs lights, a mount notched to the cage because we have that capability to weld here. Even though it's a DIY project, we didn't have to have some clamp coming off of this to mount this like some cars have. So having that was super key. You can see Joe's notch work here on this windshield. LSK was able to give us the actual frame we were going to use prior, which was nice, so super helpful there. So we were able to notch that without damaging the glass. And then the DRT mirrors are on the car. And with that, we were able to put the clamp under the windshield. So that's the only clamp I have coming off of the actual cage, which I'm super happy about, not having a bunch of like tacked on clamps. So overall look, super happy with it. Cage looks phenomenal. It works for me, which I'm super happy with. We added some sound deadening rubber to between the roof and the cage so there's not rattling. Really tried to do this car right when it came to this setup. Super stoked with the outcome. Thanks LSK and DRT for making this whole look happen and keeping me and my family safe. So appreciate that.